Villains in anime don't exactly have the best track record in my opinion, because for every good villain that I find when watching a series, I know that there's at least 20 horrible ones waiting somewhere else. I've grown to expect this while watching anime, and the reason I think good villains are so rare in this medium, and frankly a lot of mediums, is because a lot of these shows that have bad villains spend a ludicrously unbalanced amount of time on the protagonist and the characters surrounding them. What this means is that the villain is basically an afterthought until the end of the series, when the creators realize, oh wait, that was a thing that we introduced, we should probably get back to that. Rinse and repeat. This happens especially frequently in fantasy and science fiction series, where the villain is even more important and should be treated with even more care. Enter this season's SSSS.Gridman, a show that I have been high on since episode 1, and a show that has surprised me with its quality more often than not. Now, in the beginning, a lot of my enjoyment did come from the more technical elements, stuff like direction, sound design, and Rika's thighs. However, as we reach the end of the series, something else has stood out to me even more so. The story of a villain. The story of a girl named Akane Shinjo, and her psychopathic pursuit of friendship. It's just a shame that with all of the godlike powers Akane has, that she didn't have access to today's sponsor. Amino Apps is a place where making friends and connecting with people is as easy as pushing a button and joining a group that shares your interests. Amino has a seemingly endless array of communities dedicated to all the important things in life, like anime, video games, and studying for your biotechnology test. I'm not even kidding. A place where you can chat with people who like the same things you do and scroll through a variety of user-created content. I'm a big fan of the app, so a link will be in the description if you want to give it a shot for yourself, and feel free to vote in a poll I created in the Anime Amino, asking between Akane and Rika, who is the best girl in Gridman? Of course, my answer should be fairly obvious, and now we get into the meat of this discussion. Who is Akane Shinjo? Well, as you could probably tell from the title of this video, she is the villain of SSSS.Gridman. No, I do not simply mean antagonist, she is a straight-up villain. She kills people she doesn't like, she revels in standing against our main characters, and overall she's just made out to be a really unlikable person. However, on the flip side of that coin, she is also the main character of our story. The plot both figuratively and literally revolves around her, and out of everyone in the cast, including our main trio, she is the spotlight that is given the utmost attention. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and act like this is some revolutionary and unheard of method of storytelling, because it's not. What is probably the most popular example of this can be found in Tsugumi Oba's Death Note, another series which, funnily enough, revolves around its murdering psychopathic main character with a god complex. It's not that this kind of storytelling hasn't been done, and more that I feel it hasn't been done enough, which is why when a show does come along and has you following this genuinely terrible person, it feels refreshing and more interesting seeing where they'll go next. Obviously, an even better scenario is being able to craft a character who slowly descends into an antagonistic force, but that's a topic for another video. Of course, without my all-powerful ability to look back at the series and see all the strings tying together, Akane's presence in episode 1 is very understated. One might even think that she's just a quirky and nice supporting character who won't have that large of a role in the story. This makes the reveal of her true nature in episode 2 even more satisfying, because as she begins destroying the city with her kaiju for the second time, we see her in her natural element, and she behaves the exact same way she did in episode 1. There's no flip a light switch, now I'm evil mentality, she is just simply this unhinged of a person. That's not to say that Gridman doesn't offer context clues before the reveal to let you in on her sociopathic disposition, and it's in these little details and callbacks that create the strings tying everything together that I mentioned before. For example, in episode 1, there's a scene with Akane where she offers Yuta a hot dog because along with forgetting all of his other memories, he also just forgot to pack a lunch. It's at this same time where a girl named Tonkawa is playing ball inside of the classroom and accidentally smashes the hot dog. After this happens, I'm not even joking, we have an uninterrupted 20-second still frame zoom out of the class in silence, soaking in what had just happened. Now, on an initial watch through, your average viewer might be thinking something like, Trigger, are you alright over there? You didn't lose your budget, right? But it's only in the second episode when you truly realize the gravity of that scene and why it was directed the way it was. This is the moment when Akane decided to kill Tonkawa, which she does later in that same episode. It's a very strange and unorthodox approach of showing this, but in all fairness, the series as a whole has embraced that weirdness a lot. One very important aspect of Gridman that I haven't really mentioned yet is that Akane is basically a god, not just of my heart, but of this fictional world itself. This land and all the people residing in it are of her own creation, which might slightly excuse her psychopathic tendencies. I mean, do you really feel bad when killing villagers in Minecraft? My point is that maybe there's something more to Akane beneath all of the antisocial gamer girl killing. You start to ask yourself questions like, why did she create this world? Why are these figmented people rebelling against her? Why does everyone call Rika the thick one when Akane has just as much going on? And it's two of these three thoughts that are the driving force of the show's second half, where we are given much more insight into Akane's character motivation and what she truly hopes to gain by doing all of this. To put it as simply as I can, Akane is a nerd. She's a NEET. She loves tokusatsu and all she really wants in life are friends. She feels comfortable expressing herself when talking to Yuta, Utsumi, and Rika, and it's because she created this world and these characters for that sole purpose. By the second half of the series, Akane starts becoming desperate because now her own creations have started rebelling against her and are trying to take away the one place where she feels accepted and loved. It's at this point where Akane also starts becoming a lot more sympathetic and tragic as a character. Imagine from your perspective creating an imaginary friend and then discovering that even they don't want to spend any time with you. These depressing thoughts eventually consume Akane and culminate in what I consider the second best episode of the series, Episode 9, otherwise known as Dream. The episode begins just like any other, but something is quickly shown to be different. The main trio are separated and trapped in their own individual dreams as Akane attempts to hold them there as a last-ditch resort in keeping them as friends. She sees no other alternative, and it quickly backfires later in the episode as each of them discovers the truth and leaves her one by one. There's a recurring theme with Akane throughout the series that's brought to a climax here about her unwillingness to move forward. She's both stubborn and afraid of losing her escape from reality and facing the consequences of her actions, which is what ends up making her dialogue with Yuta in the graveyard all the more impactful. She's figuratively surrounded by the people she's killed as Yuta finally realizes that he's trapped in a dream of Akane's creation. Before he can leave though, Akane stops him and simply asks out of hopelessness, "Wouldn't you rather dream forever?" And of course, the tragic irony here is that Akane is the one that needs to wake up from her dream the most. Lost in complete despair, Akane sees no other option, no other way out, but to toss herself off of a crane in hopes of escaping her problems in another way. That's the key to all of this. After her previous form of escape failed her, all she did was look for another one. Unfortunately, we know that gods can't die, and so she's left to do nothing but sulk. Akane's dejection over the next episode leads to her desperation reaching the highest it's ever been, as she commits to murdering the root of all her problems in cold blood. Gridman. Unfortunately, murder isn't always what the heart needs, and Akane is left feeling emptier than ever. She doesn't want to make kaiju anymore, she doesn't even want to be in this world anymore. Long story short, evil man Alexis turned out to be evil, and Akane is transformed into a kaiju. From here, the stage is set for our grand finale, and oh boy, what a grand finale it is. I'm here to talk about Akane's character, of course, so we won't be focusing on the jaw-dropping battle between Gridman and Alexis, but Akane's character is, oh man, come on Gridman, get him, go Gridman, yes! Do it! It was a pretty good battle, but the best part about this finale is undoubtedly Akane reaching the final stop in her character arc, and us as an audience finally learning the full scope of her situation. Akane isn't just the god of this world. She isn't just some psychopath. She's not even a kaiju. Akane is a real girl, a girl in the real world who is desperate for an escape to figmented people that she believes actually care about her. I don't even know if you can really call this a twist because the series has alluded to it from the beginning, but this realization and the way it was executed at the end of the episode shed a new light on her character and the story as a whole. The entire series has been a form of escapism for Akane, and using the kaiju that Alexis gave her to make this world as perfect as it could possibly be. And it's in this finale where she finally has to face reality and give up what she's desperate to cling on to. She has to take that step forward and return to where she belongs, all while Gridman and these virtual characters like Utsumi and Rika are pushing her to make that choice and accept who she really is. It is a ridiculously wholesome ending and one of the most satisfying finales I've seen to an anime in quite some time. In the end, I think the reason I loved Akane so much was because of how identifiable she is to me. How identifiable she is to a lot of people. Minus all of the killing, of course, but hey, different strokes for different folks. It's not often I walk away from an anime feeling like there was a message behind everything, let alone such a positive one, which is why at the risk of sounding pretty cheesy, I'll end this video on a similar note. You all are awesome people. You can do anything if you set your mind to it. Don't be afraid to like things other people don't. And if you ever feel like you need a friend, join my Discord server. I'm on there a lot and I've made a ton of new friends already, so I'd love to talk with even more of you. Stay safe, like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and of course, have a happy holiday.